I am joined by former House Speaker and Republican presidential candidate Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, good to see you.
It's great to be with you.
I'm going to play you something from the Democratic convention that seems to me typifies a lot of the message from out of there.
Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan are correct when they say that each individual should be responsible. But their budget goes astray in not acknowledging that we are responsible not only for ourselves and our immediate family, rather, our faith strongly affirms that we are all responsible for one another. I am my sister's keeper. I am my brother's keeper.
So coming out of the conventions, the Democrats were basically, we're all in this together, but Mitt Romney's philosophy is you're on your own. And the Republican convention basically was the president thinks government is the answer to everything. Who was more effective?
I think in the long run, the Romney convention will be more effective. And you had a little bit of this with Jerry Brown this morning. If you ask the American people, do you want a bigger economy with more jobs, but a smaller government with fewer services? Or do you want a bigger government with more services, but a smaller economy with fewer jobs? It's about 70 to 16. And I think the challenge that the president, in effect, on Friday morning was reminded once again, his plans aren't working. 4 Americans dropped out of the workforce for every American who got a job in August. Now, at that rate, people understand, in order to be your brother's keeper, you need to have a job. I mean, you have to have an income.
But wasn't the governor correct in saying that elections are thematic? Mm-hmm. And the theme, and now this is not him anymore, this is me, the theme coming out of the Democratic convention was middle class, middle class, middle class. We've got to all, you know, help one another. And that's how we do it, and not the rich. And the theme coming out of the Republican convention, again, was too much government. Right. So if people vote thematically, do you think that the whole message of the middle class and our all being in this together has more power?
Well, no. I think, first of all, if you Paul Ryan's comment about the young person sitting in their bedroom looking up at the graying poster for Obama as it faded away sort of captured it. The president wants you to be grateful that you can stay on your parents' insurance till you're 26. We'd like you to get a job so you can actually go out on your own. The president wants you to be grateful that he's extending your payments for student loan. We would like you to actually have a job so you could pay off your student loans. And this is going to come down to, and I think Tom Brokaw captured it perfectly. He said, Romney's going to say, in essence, we can't afford 4 more years of this economy. And Obama's not going to defend the economy. He's going to say, Romney'd be worse. And the country's got to make a decision. Do you really want to take 4 more years of the worst economy since the Great Depression? Or do you want to shift to the Republicans and see if they can do a better job?
Let me bring in the Clinton factor here, which I found fascinating, not just how he was at the Democratic convention, but the Republicans' reaction to it. Listen to Vice Presidential candidate Paul Ryan.
Bill Clinton was a different kind of Democrat than Barack Obama. Bill Clinton gave us welfare reform. Bill Clinton worked with Republicans to cut spending. Bill Clinton did not play the kinds of political games that President Obama is playing.
I just want to review the 90s here, because the 90s I'm hearing described are not the 90s I remember. And I was up on Capitol Hill when the President Clinton presented a budget that no Republican voted for in his first term, when there were 2 government shutdowns because the Republicans and the White House could not get together on spending and what a budget should look like, when there was an impeachment process. So this was not some sort of kumbaya time.
No, it was very tough.
It was a very tough time, and yet Republicans are embracing Bill Clinton. Why? Strategically, why?
Well, here's the difference. You're Paul Ryan. You did, in many ways, what I did in the 1990s. You come up with a serious plan, you're trying to get to a balanced budget, and you have a president who invites you to a speech where he attacks you publicly when you can't defend yourself. Clinton and I fought a lot. As you said, the government was shut down twice. We passed welfare reform twice, and it got vetoed. He only signed it on the 3rd occasion. But the difference
after he got
was
clocked in an election.
Yeah, the difference was when the Democrats lost in 1994. Bill and Hillary Clinton brought in Dick Morris, and they said, you know, if we don't learn something from this experience, we're going to get beat in '96. I actually thought parts of the Clinton speech were eerily anti-Obama. if you just listen to the subtext. I mean, here's Clinton saying, I reformed welfare because I worked with Republicans. You didn't, Mr. Obama. He didn't say it that way, but think about it. I had the longest period of economic growth in history. You didn't, Mr. Obama. I got to 4 balanced budgets by working with Republicans. You didn't, Mr. Obama. You could take his speech, spin it not very much, and it's actually a condemnation of the fact that Obama learned nothing. And Bob Woodward's new book indicates he learned nothing out of the 2010 election.
Do you think Bill Clinton can move votes for President Obama?
I think he can temporarily move votes. I would say the bounce Obama's getting coming out of the convention is 80% Bill Clinton. Now, Clinton is a very popular figure for a very practical reason. The economy worked. People had jobs. We reduced children in poverty by 25% through welfare reform. We actually balanced the budget for 4 years. You know, you look back at that and you think, I think what it does is it actually shrinks Obama. I mean, you have a real president, and then you have this guy who's a pretender.
Why isn't Mitt Romney at this point? You talked about the unemployment figures that came out. You talked about the worst recovery since the Great Recession, blah, 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 blah. Why isn't Romney running away with this?
I think this is about where Reagan was, slightly better than where Reagan was at this point in 1980. I think people find it very hard to fire a president. They don't. The president's in your home every night, and this particular president has a nice family. You know, there's a sense of, gee.
But none of that's going to change.
No, the swing vote is going to be disappointed, not angry. The angry vote's already there. Romney's getting all the angry vote. But the swing vote's going to be the person. This will be the decision of the election. Will be the person who says, you know, I'd like to try, but I can't stand the cost of 4 more years. If that person comes down and says, I can't stand the cost of 4 more years, then I think Obama's gone. If they come down and say, gee, I'm not sure about these Republicans, then Obama could survive. There's a new movie out called The Hope and the Change, which actually has 40 former Obama voters, each explaining why they're now against Obama. And all of them have this sense of sadness, not anger, but disappointment. They wished it had worked. They wished he'd been able to govern, but they're not going to vote for him again.
And we saw the convention sort of speak to those disappointed voters. Let me ask you finally, the president said in an interview with our Jessica Yellen that was in the documentary that he thinks the next 4 years will be different because Republicans will be more willing to work with him after he wins. And you're laughing, so no? You don't believe that?
It's perfectly Obama. He didn't say, I'd be willing to work with the Republicans.
Well, he did say he'd be a little better. He'd try to make more of it. Everybody had to make more of an effort.
Yes.
But the question is, do you think the Republicans will be significantly different in terms of how they approach the president?
I don't contemplate a second Obama term, so I can't answer the question. My entire commitment is to help Mitt Romney win.
Well, then we'll ask you that after the election, regardless of who wins. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
By the way, you could ask the Democrats, the House and Senate, are they willing to work with Governor Romney if he wins?
It's a deal. I will. Thank you so much. Good to see you.